Hari Om. Let's start with a prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagatgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mamadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are addressing the fundamentals of Advaita Vedanta because the questions that student pose, ko nama bandhaha katamesha agataha kadam pratishtasya kadam vimokshaha. So what is bondage and how did it arise and how did it firmly got rooted and how do we get liberated from this bondage? So those are the four questions that were asked, and the following that he asked what is Kosavanatma Paramahka Atma, what is Atma and what is Anatma and what is Atma, and what's the difference between the two. So after explaining what is Anatma and what is Atma, the Acharya or the teacher started explaining what is bondage. Bondage is identification of myself with Anatma. So Atma with Anatma. Atma is self that I am with Anatma, and that is the bondage. And why do I identify myself? Because I do not know myself. So the root cause for identification is the lack of knowledge of my own self. Therefore, ignorance is the fundamental problem, and that's been addressed as the basis for the mistaking, and which because of that everything else starts in terms of projecting and so on. So the Mula Avidya is the basis, or Mula Avidya means the ignorance of one's own self is the fundamental ignorance. It's not the ignorance of some particular knowledge of ignorance of say, chemistry, physics and all that. Those are particular ignorance, but this is the fundamental ignorance and called Mula Avidya. Now since that is the basis for the whole bondage itself, and that's what the Advaita Vedanta emphasizes, and this has been questioned by other acharyas. This is who has the avidya, what is avidya, and what is maya, because the avidya is also explained as maya also. So is there a difference between the maya and avidya? So these are the questions that we need to have a clear understanding, and so that no doubts can come related to this. So we went through the process of analyzing it. So in terms of the creation, all the acharyas, or most of the acharyas agree that the maya is required for projection. So there is no problem in that. So Mayadhyakshena pragutihi suyate sacharacharam. When Krishna said, under my direction, the Maya is Prakriti is projecting, and Prakriti is same as Maya. So Maya is Parameshwara Shakti. That means it is the power of the Lord where he can utilize. So why did he create, or how did he create, and why particular creation? We are going through that particular analysis. And again in the 8th chapter we mentioned that what was the cause for the creation is essentially Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavo Adjatma Uchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro Visarga Karma Sangitaha. There it clearly mentioned it is the karma or the vasanas are responsible for Bhuta Bhav. That means for the creation of all the elements, grossification or subtle elements and the gross elements, all the lokas and every whole creation itself, all the 9 yards is due to karma. Karma means here the vasanas. So vasanas are responsible for creation. Avidya was responsible for creation we said. Now here it says karma is responsible. So karma itself is, or vasana itself is due to avidya, is due to lack of understanding. What's the lack of understanding? That I am full by myself. That is the basis. That means I am happy by myself, and if I know that I am happy myself, then I don't need anything else for me to become happy, because I am already happy. And a wise person is the one who knows that he is happy, and that's essentially what the definition of a wise person is. Says that which is prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmaniyeva atmana tushtaha. I am satisfied with myself because the one that I am satisfied as I am is full and complete. So I don't need anything for me to be happy. So therefore prajahati, all the kamas, sarvan kaman, so all desires are not there, because desire is only for making me full. But if I'm already full, then I don't need a desire. So desire is true for me to be happier. So I think I am unhappy, and therefore I want that to be happy. So all my actions, and that's why we started the whole series, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for Atma, I'm not looking for Brahman, I'm not even looking for Ishvara. What I'm looking for is absolute, uninterrupted, inexhaustible happiness that I want to be. And now, from the point of logically as well as experientially also, we know that happiness doesn't come from outside. So happiness comes from inside. That means whenever the desire is fulfilled, I am back to myself. That means I am in a state where the mind is no more longing, it is contented mind, no more desiring and no more looking for something, because it's happy by its own self. So the question itself is, who is unhappy and what is the cause for the unhappiness and why I am going after, and that's what the cause for action also. When I perform an action, and we know all the routine now, when I perform an action, it leaves an impression, and that's called vasana, and vasana will propel me further actions, and further actions will give me further vasanas. So I get into this rut of endless karma to janma to karma to janma. Therefore Krishna says, so bhuta bhavodbhava karo visarga karma samhita. So for my creation, or for my to be in this particular environment, it is my actions or my vasanas responsible. And the karma came into picture and the vasanas came into picture because I am looking for happiness outside, and therefore I am going for actions. And therefore any egocentric action where the notion that I want to do it so that I can be happy, that kind of action will result impression. So therefore, it is the karma that is the propelling me to be born into a particular environment, and therefore the whole things be analyzed. It's not only my karma that is responsible for my birth in a particular environment, even the surrounding environment, including my parents, my siblings, and everybody who has to put up with me, also have their karma that called samashti vasana or samashti vasana, that provides or propels a particular jiva is born in a particular environment, in a particular the situations and all that. So I cannot complain anybody why I am born with this silver spoon or a golden spoon or a nose spoon with all the defects in the birth itself, in the particular environment, in country, in Russia or anywhere else. So that's because of, that's where my vasanas can be exhausted, and environment is provided to exhaust. So I enter into an environment that is conducive to exhaust my vasanas, taking particular body, mind and intellect that is conducive to exhaust the vasanas. All that is implied in the very way of my birth itself. And your vasanas dictate your birth and your environment, and the same way the vasanas of all beings put together and dictate the whole environment. That means the whole creation is in a particular form because of what? Because of the total vasana for all beings together, and that kind of world is required to exhaust the vasanas of all beings in the living in the world. So therefore the Lord only is a karma paladata. The Ishvara is Sarvajnaha, Sarvashaktiman. So what he can do is to match my vasanas and my parents' vasanas and my sibling vasanas and all that vasanas in such a way that I'll be born in particular family, you are born in particular family, all that rigmarole of what is cause effects are beautifully taken care of. There are no accidents in Vedanta. There are only incidents in life that happens because of my past. So prarabdha, the destiny, is what I have, but as a human being, now I have a called the Purushartha or free will is there, where I can perform an action, and in that environment that is I am provided with, and that environment, when I perform an action, I can have a result. So future prarabdha is past prarabdha modified by my present action. So all these things we know. Therefore, my ignorance is the cause for my creation and my actions. Your ignorance is cause for your creation and your environment. Same way, ignorance of all beings put together is called samasti vasanas, is due to samasti ignorance, if we call it, and therefore that is the root cause of the creation. So Lord is creating with His power. So the power is that which transforms into a unmanifested vasanas into a manifested or expressible environments. So it's essentially bhuta bhavo udbhavakaraha. So that because of which the bhutas, panchabhutas and all beings also involved, chara, movable, immovable, all beings are being put in environment because of the karma. Karma means vasanas. So all the vasanas put together is the current existing environment, and where I am born, you are born, is a result of the vasanas that are there to be exhausted. Therefore, it is due to the result of the karma. But what is the role of Ishvara? Ishvara is karma paradata. He is the one who is not affected by any karma, but at the same time, he is the one who gives the results appropriate for a given karma. That's why we call it, say, karturajnaya prapyate phalam. In the Upadesasara, Bhagavan starts the Upadesasara with the statement karturajnaya. Karturu means a creator, ajnaya, by his control or by his the decision, so by his ajna, and prapte phalam. The phalam, the results are given because he is called karma paladata. But he doesn't change because phalam depends upon the karma, but he only gives you appropriate results for appropriate actions, taking into consideration not only my karma, but all those who depend on whom I depend on, all those people that are involved in the action. So therefore all those things are contributing factors in deciding the total result of the action. Not only my personal action, which may be dominant factor, but other contributing factors also are involved in formulating the results of the action. So even though I work for promotion, other people also working for promotion, there may be only one position available, and who gets it, the phalam depends upon that factors, all the contributions plus factors beyond our control is going to determine. That's why we call it a daivam. That we don't have a control, we call it a daivam. So these are important considerations. So where is the avidya? What is Maya now? Maya is avyaktanamni paramesha shakti. That's how it was defined also in the Vivekachudamani. It is unmanifested, a power that which makes it appear that which is not there. So that's why Shankara calls it agatita gatana patiyasi maya, that which makes impossible possible. What's impossible? That which is pure existent consciousness, Brahman, which cannot undergo any modification. It appears to undergo as though modification, and that is what is called due to maya. So all these things are self-consistent analysis. So when we talk about criticism of Advaita Vedanta, we should be aware of all these factors that really made us to believe that this is the correct interpretation also. So fundamental problem or the cause from my point is I am looking for happiness. That's a fundamental problem. So if I am already happy, then I don't care for anything else. That means I am full by myself. So the whole world is because I am looking for particular things that I need to make me happy. So I go after my likes and dislikes. Like going after likes means going for trying to gain those things, and going after dislikes means trying to avoid those things I dislike, and that's whole my life after life after life after life. Same thing is going on. So therefore, my avidya, that means my ignorance, is a cause for my actions. And the ignorance is what? Fundamentally, ignorance is I don't know that I am happy. That's my ignorance. Similarly, you do not know that you are already happy, therefore you are going after fulfilling your desires. So every being in this universe going after for activities so that they can gain happiness, because fundamentally they all think that they are unhappy. Why they are unhappy? Because they think they are only limited. And where is that problem? Because of the lack of knowledge that I am already full. That is the fundamental ignorance. Don't say that now we don't have fundamental ignorance. This is the fundamental ignorance, because that's what I'm looking for. Fundamentally, everybody is looking for happiness only, and everybody knows, even logically, happiness is not out there, and happiness comes from my own self. Still we are going after it. So that means there is a blockage of this knowledge, and that is the problem. And that is essentially avidya. So avidya is what? I do not know, I am already full. Fullness is infiniteness. Infinite alone is full. Any finite things will have a limitation, and limitation will cause suffering. Therefore, fullness is nothing but Brahman. That means I do not know that I am Brahman. Therefore, that is the fundamental ignorance. From who has ignorance? I have the ignorance, and you have the ignorance, since you are also going after objects. So every jiva has ignorance, and where is that ignorance is the fundamental question. Now we have understood what is Maya and what is ignorance, avidya. Maya is that force that converts that which is unmanifested to a manifested forms. That's called karma paladata, the one who gives the fruits. Therefore the Krishna says it is what is bhuta bhava udbhava karaha karma. So that which makes impossible creation of all the beings, chara achara, all panchabhutas, everything is possible because of Maya, and that's what is prakriti. So prakriti eva cha karmani kriva. The Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti, therefore under my Adhyaksha Prakriti. Prakriti is itself inert, or it's a force, and force has to have locus. Therefore Ishvara is the one who uses the Maya to create that which cannot be created otherwise. Cause for that creation is because of vasanas, because of the karma which is due to vasanas. So vasanas are due to the ignorance. So this is the hierarchy of that. Now question that was posed is, who has the ignorance? This is a fundamental question that was raised by other acharyas, and even in the Advaitic tradition they have two schools of thought. One is called Bhamati and another called Vivarana. So we already accounted from the Advaitic point that there is the pure, what is real and what is unreal and what is mithya. So what is mithya is transactionally real but not absolutely real. So we do accept a reality in the world, but since it is changing, it's a changing reality. You can call it a changing reality, which is same as mithya, which changeless entity is alone Satyam. But also we should know that whenever there is something is changing, there has to be changeless entity as the substantive for all the things that are changes. So when X becomes a Y, so there must be something in the transformation of X to Y that remains the common factor, which does not undergo in this transformation. So transformation is only superficial, the substantive should remain the same. And exactly what the Vedanta talks about, and this is exactly what science also talks about in the law of conservation. When you say matter is conserved or energy is conserved, only one form of matter transforms into the other, keeping the total mass constant. Same way the energy. But here, the same way from the absolute point also, same thing should apply, and that's exactly what Krishna said, as we mentioned in the second chapter of Gita, Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. That which is existent can never cease to exist. That is non-existent can never come to exist. That means you cannot create from nothing. There has to be something. And what is that something? That was there before creation. What is there before creation? And that's what everyone is trying to find out. And the Vedanta says you cannot find out by only looking at only the objects. You have to include the totality of the system now, because we are looking at the totality of the whole creation, including the life forms and the inert forms. And for that, it's only the pure existent consciousness, that was infiniteness alone was there. And that's the reason why Vedanta becomes a scripture, and it has to be learned as a pramana, or a means of knowledge. So now we had to ask the question in terms of this locus of avidya, locus of ignorance. So from my point, I am ignorant. From your point, you are ignorant. And from every jiva's point, everyone is ignorant. We cannot say the inert thing is ignorant, because something has to be a conscious entity to own the ignorance also. So now we will go into question in terms of, is Jiva ignorant or is Paramatma ignorant? And this is the fundamental question that was raised even in the Advaita itself by the Vivarana school versus the Bhamati school that we mentioned. And also this is again asked by other Acharyas, for example, Bhagavan Ramanuja in his Sri Bhashya, he talks about the 7 untenables against the Advaita, the avidya aspect of it. So this we will go into now a little bit. Next big thing we will be talking about, what is the nature of avidya, who has the avidya, what is the locus of avidya, and the problems associated with it, and the criticisms and counter criticisms. We need to have a clear understanding so that the knowledge is crystal clear when we talk about avidya, maya, and locus of it. This will stop now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha.